Good evening and welcome to Junior College Night. We're so happy to have you all here. We hope you all had a great, relaxing break and that this week has been a good one for all of you. I was thinking about it on the way over, and I think about how every year in January we're still working with the seniors, but you know, as so many people start the year fresh and they think about New Year's resolutions and they think about looking back and looking ahead, I think that's kind of what we do in college counseling when we start with you all as juniors and parents of juniors. So we are glad to see you all. I also was thinking this morning, I was getting ready for this, but thinking about all of this as well. Every morning in my advisory, we start with a quote for the day. And I thought the quote for today was actually a really great one, and something that made me think a little bit about college counseling as well. But it said, "Don't be pushed around by the fears in your mind. Be led by the dreams in your heart." And I think so often in this process, in the college admissions process, people get really stressed and a little bit nervous and a little bit scared because there's a lot of unknown out there. But the reality is that this is an exciting time for all of you. For boys, you're looking ahead. You are looking at what you've done, but you're also looking ahead. And you're thinking about what is possible and all of the options and opportunities that you have in front of you. So as we start this work in greater intensity or in greater intentionality with each of you, I hope that you will keep that hope in your heart and don't let the fear overtake that. The other thing, I was at a conference this summer, and another college counselor who has been doing this a long time as well, said that when he thinks about this process, he thinks the job of a student is to dream and to think about all of the things that are out there and that your hopes and your dreams and your aspirations and what you would like from your college experience, but also how that will help you think about what else you want in life and what your goals are. And then he said, and the job of a college counselor is to worry. Because if y'all don't get in, we get blamed, right? Is that part of it? But the reality of that is that we want the best for you, and we want the very, very best options for you. But we also know that sometimes this process is really unpredictable. And so when we worry because we want you to have as many options as possible. And we want you to be thinking about all of those options. But my friend also said that the best processes are when those two things come together. That we want to dream with you. We want to acknowledge what your dreams are. We're going to think about those things. We're going to talk about those with you. But we also have to have that reality in there and make certain that all of the bases are covered and that you're all going to have options. Because at the end of the day, you will all go to college. And that is where the best processes happen. Because there's both dreams and realities, and we're working together, and we're working to make certain that we do everything within our power to make your dreams possible. And so that's where we are in this process. That's a little bit about how I think we think about the process with the college counseling team here at MBA. And I'm going to start by introducing that team to you because at MBA, you all know we have a slightly different approach than most schools, where we don't assign you to a college counselor as a freshman or a sophomore or even right now in January of your junior year. We make certain that you have an opportunity to talk with many of us and have an opportunity to learn from us, and we have an opportunity to learn about you and share that information and our perspectives with each other. So what I will say to you right now, as I was driving over, I was actually thinking about how blessed I am to work with my colleagues. I've been in this field 30 years, and I've had a lot of colleagues over those years. And I will tell you right now, we have one of the best teams I've had in a very, very, very long time. So I'm really excited for you all to work with all of us, because I'm excited to work with these folks every day. So I'm going to start with Coach K, Coach Klausner. We have two Coach Ks in our office. But Coach Klausner is not here tonight because he had some surgery before the holidays. But most of you know Coach K. He coaches soccer, but he also teaches English, and he works in college counseling. And he is an MBA graduate and has been at MBA a very long time. And I think if you all remember from freshman college night, everybody knows that he has a great heart and a great spirit, and that he really thinks about this process and who you are and wants the very best for each one of you. We'll start with our next Coach K, Coach Killian. Yes. And both of our Coach Ks are MBA alums. I should have said that to begin with, too. I have started to introduce Coach K, this Coach Killian, in a little bit of a different way this year, because as I think about him, I knew Coach Killian when he was a senior. I was his college counselor, and so he came back, and I'm so excited to have him here. And so the good news is now we work together in a different kind of way, and it's been wonderful. When he was here as a senior, he was an amazing human and a really great person and super thoughtful. And what I appreciate about him in our office is that he helps ask really good questions. And he's always formulating those things in a way that helps us be our best. So I've started calling him like the Mary Poppins of our office, which is kind of a funny thing, but the reality is I think of Mary Poppins as the person who brings out the best in people around her and who helps us to figure out the best of every situation. And so I think that's who you are. I'm sorry. And just so y'all know, my daughter's in Mary Poppins at Harpeth Hall right now, so they're getting ready for that. If you want to go see that and know how wonderful Mary Poppins is really, that's all part of it. So I'm so glad to have Coach Killian in our office. He, as you all know, is a swim coach, but also teaches Latin and then spends some time with us. Next to him is Mr. Sandifer, and Mr. Sandifer joined our office. Give him a round of applause, too. In June, and he came to us from the Vanderbilt Office of Admissions. And so he was there for a number of years. Before that, he had been at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and so he brings a wealth of experience as well. And this fall, it's been wonderful to see him connect with people and be so thoughtful, again, in the questions that he asks from a different perspective. He brings that admissions knowledge, but now he's thinking about this in a broader way and thinking about the range of opportunities, but how to maximize all of your opportunities as well. So we're thrilled to have him. And then last but not least, but Miss Wilk, Julia Wilk, and she joined us. I think many of you know her because she's a parent of a junior, but she joined us in mid-October, and that has been she's been a great addition to our office. And I am super grateful for her because she's done an amazing job. I think, as you all will see, you've gotten a lot more communication from college counseling. And so you have her to thank for that, because the reality is she went through this process last year as a parent. And so when she came and we talked about her joining our office, I said, you need to be our best communicator. You have to help everybody know what's happening and know what's going on. And she was like, that's awesome. And so she's done a great job with that, and I'm really, really glad to have her. But tonight, what are we going to do? Here's on the agenda. So you're going to see, I'm not going to read this to you, there's a bunch of things that we're going to go over. Boys, you got a questionnaire on Tuesday, and many of you, at least 70 of you, filled that out. And these are the results from that. The reason we wanted to do that is because we wanted you to start thinking about this process in a personal kind of way, but also to see this as a whole. That third category over is actually community and camaraderie, so that you can see that one right there. That's what that topic is. But this is a scale of 1 to 5. How important are each of the following aspects of the MBA, have they been for you at MBA? And part of the reason that we did this question, which I think is interesting to see, you see that you all have, there's some things, the student-teacher relationships are important to the vast majority of you. That community and camaraderie is super important. That's the most important thing for most of you. But the classroom experiences are also really important to most of you. If you come to the next slide, and the next question, it was, what would you guys like to change about MBA? And I think this is also really informative because it helps you to see that you all have different perspectives on what has happened to you and through your experiences at MBA, which is important because this next process, the process that we're about to go through, is very individualized. And the reason being, you all have different perspectives based on your experiences here, but based on who you are and what's important to you. Then this was, which ways do you learn best? Because as you're thinking about college, your education should be at the forefront of your mind. So thinking about where you are your best student is super important. I'm going to come back to these information in a minute. Then the other thing is thinking about who you are and where you are. What do you need to work on? Everybody needs to set goals as we start this process. And as we think about January and thinking about starting fresh and starting a new year, while it is not a new academic year, it is a new semester, and it is an opportunity for you to think about what you want to do this semester moving forward. Then, how important are these factors in your college decision? So you can see all of those different things. There again, very, very different responses from so many of you, and that's something that's really important. I think everybody, parents, you should feel really gratified that for everybody, it seems academics is super important. Then, what kind of support do I need to do my best academically in college? This is something that was a really interesting thing to look at, given the statistics from that other slide in terms of where have you done well in college, or at MBA, what has been important to you. And so I'm going to go over this because I think it's super important. When you think about this and you look at this, the vast majority of you say, I work best on my own. But in that previous slide, 39.2% said that you learn best in person. And 20.3% said you are your best when you are doing a creative assignment. And so that's something that's interesting to think about when you work best on your own, when a lot of that is a little bit more collaborative and slightly different than this would probably say. Some of that is too, how am I going to pick a major? This is something, some people know what they want to do, other people want time to explore. So those are things to think about as you're looking at options. How I define success in college, this is also super important to all of us. Success is not one-dimensional, success is multidimensional. And so thinking about the things that are going to help you be successful in college, just like the things that have helped you be successful here at MBA. And then this is something, how many times have you spoken with a representative during a visit that they have had to our campus? This is important because most of you have done a pretty good job. Most of you, the vast majority of you, have spoken with over 3, or at least had a conversation with 3 or more college representatives when they've been on campus. That's great. If they're tracking demonstrated interest, that's important. There's also other ways that they will look at demonstrated interest, so those conversations are important. But what this says is that you are engaged in getting information, and that is super important. This is the trips you've taken. So some of you have been on college campuses, some of you haven't, but it's time to think about where you want to go, and those visits are helpful. Even if you don't like a school, you learn a lot from visiting and learning a lot about what is important to you. This was kind of a fun thing. What is the average GPA in MBA's past 2 graduating classes? And actually, the vast majority of you were correct. It is a 4.45, actually. Without looking up at the answer, the highest GPA possible at MBA. So this one is actually a 5.25. So those ones with purple are the ones who had the correct answer there. Then this is also important. Why is that GPA important? Well, numbers are important to colleges and universities, but numbers are important in context. And so this is something that is important for you to look at. This is the GPA distribution for your class at this moment. So based on the GPAs through last semester, this is what we would call our grade distribution. This will go on our profile, and this is something that will be sent to colleges and universities. It will not be these numbers because we will use the GPAs at the end of your junior year, but for context, this helps you to see where you are right now in your class so that you can get a sense of where you fall among your peers. This is a kind of a fun thing to think about where you all are in your readiness. How ready are you to start college, or the college search process? So we have a few of you who are really like, I'm there, 5, I'm so excited. Most of you are right in the middle. We have a kind of a little bit of a slightly more excited bell curve. So that's something that we like to see and to think about. So as we start the process, what can you expect from us in the College Counseling Office? We are going to be here to help you with this process. And we are going to be here to give you a lot of information and a lot of guidance. One of the things that I think that I have learned over time is that nobody goes through life alone. And nobody should go through this process at MBA alone. This is a partnership, and we will work with you in partnership to help you with this process. These are some things that you're going to be thinking about, and these are things that we'll help you with. We won't be able to get you in or keep you out of a college, but the reality is that the knowledge that we have, we hope, will make you more successful in the process. If you talk to the seniors right now and you ask them, the ones especially who would say are finished with the process, they are into their top choice school and they are moving on with their senior year with a lot less stress, they will say they probably spent a lot of time working with their college counselors this fall, last spring and this fall. We hope that you all will follow their lead and do that as well. As seniors, some of the things that we're going to do, we're going to continue working with you. But in the fall, it's much more intense and it's much more intentional. We will help you with every aspect of your college application process, including helping you with your essays. Essays are super important in this process. The GPAs, the ACT scores or SAT scores, all of those things are important. But there are some schools that will say, if you have those things, those are kind of, you've met that bar. So it's the other parts of your application that help you to get in and gain admission. And we are here to help you with that. And we will help you with all of that. I have heard from a few parents that have said, oh my gosh, at MBA you have to spend a lot of money to help get somebody to help you with your essays. I would actually say you're spending a lot of money, parents, to send your boys to MBA every day. Take advantage of the opportunities and the resources that we have available for them, and you won't have to do that. We are here to help. I will tell you that we spend a lot of time talking with college admissions officers, learning about what's important to them, learning about their schools, so that we can help you. And so I would say, please, 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 make certain you utilize the resources that are available to you here. That's what this is about. And then what we expect of you. We really want you to engage. That's the most important part of this. Engage and communicate. Communication is super important. We will communicate a lot with you, but this is your process, and we are here to help you. We've all gone to college. We've all had that experience already. Please let us know who you are and what's important to you, but also have an open mind. There are over 3,000 colleges and universities out there. We're going to recommend some places that you may not have heard of. They may be great places for you. They may not be. But you won't know that if you don't have an open mind and you don't do some of the research that we ask you to do. So as much as you engage, make certain that you also engage with college representatives when they're here on campus or they're in town. We have found SCORE, our new program, and you're going to see a little bit more of that tonight, to be an incredibly helpful tool. We used to have Naviance, and Naviance was a great program for a long time. But SCORE has really upped the ante for them. It's much more visual, it's much more engaging, and it's much more intuitive in terms of how you use technology or how we all use technology today. So we think you will get a lot out of that. It's also not, it's a dynamic program, so it's constantly changing. They're updating information all the time. So it's a really amazing program if you utilize it. And then the thing that I will say is that you're getting a lot of information. We will send you emails, you will get information in lots of different ways. Please understand that that is super important for you to pay attention to. We can't help you if you don't allow us to help you, and part of us working together is you reading what we send to you so you have good information. So that's one of those things that we think will be important in the process, and those are some of the things that you can think about as we go through it. I'm going to let you listen to somebody different, and Coach K is going to come up and talk for a little while.
Okay, hello again, juniors. It's good to see everybody again. Y'all are going to be the first class that I get to see all the way through MBA. You were 7th graders when I started here, and I'm excited to go through this milestone with you. As I've said before, I really feel like we came up together. And while I feel like the hardest years of teaching, those first 2 are behind me now, I know that you guys are really entering a new set of challenges and what's going to be a challenging semester. So please, when you go through the semester and it feels like with testing and with physics and with your parents asking you about college, if it feels like the whole world has gone crazy and all you want is a moment of peace and quiet, just know you're one step closer to understanding what it was like to teach Bo, Wilbanks, and Stokes-Myers in the same class 3 years ago. Yeah. So guys, let's talk about some of the concrete things that we expect of you this semester. So on top of everything going on with coursework and testing, we also are going to give you assignments. Not too many, but an important list of them. You have a paper copy of this that you picked up on the way in. We'll go through this checklist of things to do, okay? So the very first thing our office needs from you is a written response. I'll show you in a second where to find this in SCORE, but on that platform, there's a survey that we need you to fill out, and it's not a Google form like what you did for this meeting. It's going to require longer written responses, okay, about what you've done, so a resume of sorts, but then also about what's important to you and what you expect in this college process. We ask that you do devote some time to answering thoughtfully. That junior questionnaire is one of the documents we rely on in the fall when it's our job to write a letter of recommendation as your college counselor, a letter of recommendation that gets sent out with your college applications. The information that you put in this junior questionnaire, a lot of it will end up in our counselor rec. It'll end up informing that letter and making it a more effective letter. So know that this is not just sort of a pointless exercise we're asking you to go through. It is a very important first step in our relationship, the relationship between you students and us as counselors, okay? And so we ask for your help getting that off to a good start. And so parents, we have an assignment for you as well. You have your own questionnaire about your son. You also have the option of writing sort of a more long-form letter to supplement or even replace that questionnaire. So please know, we have a couple different ways we'd love to hear from you. And I'll say again, just like I just said to the students, I want to emphasize the importance of that questionnaire. It's so helpful. It just is so helpful to hear from your perspective. As hard as we are going to work to get to know you students, to understand what you've done, what you're hoping to get out of college, parents will just never match what you know, right? And so it's so helpful when you share things like that, even little things that you think aren't helpful. I was working with a student this year who just could not come up with a topic for his college essay. He just could only think to write about the sport that he'd been involved with, and it wasn't very informative about him and his personality. And I have worked with this student, since you all started at MBA. I've known him just for a long time. And I never knew until I read the response his mother wrote that he is a really avid baker. And I would have never known that about the kid at all. It didn't fit anything else I knew about him. And I asked him about that, and then he said, yeah, I do love that. And he ended up writing a much more effective essay on that topic, and I would never have been aware of it if the parent hadn't thought to mention that it was what he did in his spare time at home. So things that even you don't think necessarily are what a college wants to hear, there's so much personal reflection that goes into this process that those little notes about life can be a lot more valuable than you may even think at the time. So we really do appreciate when y'all take the time to put down something thoughtful. It has a really immediate impact on this process and our effectiveness as counselors. So thank you in advance for your help with that questionnaire. So boys, back to you. After you fill out that survey, and we do ask you to do the questionnaire first, you're going to start meeting with us, okay? You can see the deadlines on this slide for some required meetings with different counselors. As Mrs. Maddox already said, you're going to meet with more than one counselor this semester. You've got to meet with at least 2 different people. Know that when it does come time to assign a counselor, who you meet with will help influence that and help us in our assignment process. And so we really do like to see who you prefer to meet with, and know that you don't have to only have 2 meetings. There isn't a limit on the number of meetings you can have. Any of us can show you at any time where our appointment calendars are on the MBA website, and you can always just click and book a meeting whenever our free periods align with any one of us, and as many times as you want. Please come and visit. And so on that topic of coming and visiting these deadlines when we want to see you, I'll just say, in my, admittedly, compared to my colleagues, limited experience as a college counselor, I would already say with confidence, nobody who misses these early deadlines ends up doing well in the college process. If you can't schedule a meeting with one of us by the date we requested, you're not going to be someone who just pulls it together in late October. No one does that. The college process isn't so small that you can pull that off. You need to take these early deadlines seriously and know that we learn a lot if you're the last one to come and meet with us. That is a huge red flag, so please don't be that member of this class. Come on in and meet with us. Props to y'all who've already met with me. I appreciate that half dozen or so of you who already came to see me this semester. And so you meet with 2 college counselors and then parents to return to you. At some point this semester, we do ask for a family meeting, a meeting with the student and at least one parent. And we're happy to work with you guys and around y'all's schedules to find a time when we can all sit down. And I'll say on that family meeting, that can be at any point in the semester. You don't need to wait until your son is officially paired with a counselor for the rest of the year. You can schedule that with any of us at any point. And even if we don't end up working together in the long run, we all share our notes, and so the notes from that meeting will end up with the right person. So please, whenever y'all are ready, come and see us, though we do ask students that you meet with us individually first, okay? So boys, the last hard requirement for you all this semester, and this will be later on in the spring, in the 4th quarter, but please know that this is the semester when you request teacher recommendations. So the most standard thing is with a college application, you send out 2 letters of recommendations from people who have taught you in a classroom. So unfortunately, your coaches or club leaders aren't really eligible to write these letters. They're supposed to be about you as a learner, about you as a student, about what you contribute in a truly academic setting. And so the reason it's important for you all to hear this now, even though the deadline for these requests is later on, is that you need to be mindful of your relationships with your junior year teachers, because it's going to be these junior year teachers most likely who end up recommending you. And those letters are very important. They're just such a vital tool in the list of things that can help get you into college. They can't be overlooked, and the way to make them as good as possible is to be doing a good job in class. I think if you just need one piece of advice, what one of our junior year teachers told me this year was how hard it is to write someone who doesn't talk. Write for someone who doesn't talk. Even if you're getting a straight A in a class, if you're not raising your hand and contributing, they're not going to be able to talk about you and your personality and your hopes and dreams, right? You haven't actually had a conversation. And so just to say, hey, he got straight A's in my class and never had to come see me is not an effective letter. They really need more material than that, and the only one who can really supply it is you. So please, if you're having trouble speaking up, see your teachers outside of class, start visiting things that they do, any clubs or trips that they lead, give them something to work with, and tend to those relationships this semester. Now, of course, there's a lot going on outside of just our short list of requirements for you. You'll all be taking standardized tests throughout this semester, which I'll talk more about in a moment. Right now, all of you are thinking about your course selection for senior year. If you would like to talk with one of us about how that might affect the college application process, if you are really having a hard time deciding and you just need someone else to talk it through with, please know that we're here to do that. This is also the time of year, even though it feels early, that you need to be thinking about your summer. Wilson Grant applications, if they're not already gone, are coming up soon, as are the exchange apps. And any kind of additional work or study you want to set up in the summer, it's really time to start working on that. So please don't put it off much longer. So another note about testing here. All of you are going to take either the ACT or the SAT. There's really no college that I know of that prefers one over the other. It's mostly a matter of learning what test you're better at and focusing on it, okay? And so the dates that are available throughout the spring, they start as early as the first weekend in February, and they're going to run all the way through June, every month or every other month for these tests. There are a lot of dates, but I was just talking to somebody, one of y'all on the lacrosse team, and he pointed out that 3 of them just don't work, that he's out of town for games or tournaments. And the list of test dates, even though it might look long on paper, can quickly become very short when you start factoring in all of the other things you guys are going to be doing this spring, okay? And so parents, it's great if you can help your son plan ahead, look at what dates are actually viable. Please put that on the to-do list really for the next couple weeks to go ahead and start thinking about a testing schedule. It would be really great if you got at least 2 standardized tests under your belt this semester if you don't have any already, okay? There's always opportunities to take more in the fall, but it's worth it to go ahead and take a very serious shot at these tests now, and that will save you some stress during senior year. And again, if you need advice on how to sign up, or if you need to be connected to test prep or tutoring services, you know that there's a lot out there. There's a lot that's offered either online through our office or here on campus by different teachers, and we're happy to help connect you with that additional help, okay? Now, many of you are also taking AP exams this spring, and we hope that you'll do your best on them. SAT subject tests, parents, if you've had older students, these used to be required more frequently than they are now. You should know that SAT subject tests are required by fewer and fewer schools every year. So it's good to take them, especially if you're considering some of the more selective colleges and universities in the country. That's where they tend to be expected the most on that top end of things. But it's worth, boys, speaking to your teachers this year. They'll be able to point you in the direction of what subject test to take, right? Your math teachers, your language teachers will be able to help you understand how well prepared you'll be given the coursework you've done this year, okay? So please use them as resources. All right. So the last bit of business I want to take care of is to talk once again about SCORE. So juniors, will you raise your hand if you've been on SCORE this year? All right, that's awesome. That's awesome if you put your hands down. Parents, will you raise your hand if you've logged in? Okay, that's also terrific. Okay, great. So I'll keep this brief because I know that you guys have heard about it before. As Ms. Maddox said, SCORE replaced Naviance. Parents, if you are familiar with Naviance, you're going to find a lot similar in SCORE. It's just more taken care of than Naviance ever is. So the first thing I'll show you, we mentioned that junior questionnaire and parent questionnaire. It's this drop-down menu in the upper right corner here where you're going to find this survey button. When the questionnaire goes live, there will be a notification that you have one waiting, and you follow that link to fill it out, okay? So guys, in addition to everything I said that you're going to be taking care of this spring, you should go ahead and add SCORE to that list as well. To be very clear about the purpose of SCORE, this is a platform that we use in-house to communicate between counselors and students. We can see your profile, your parent can see your profile, you are the only one who can update your profile, okay? We consider the information that you put on SCORE seriously, okay? We're not going to make you apply to every college you list, but we are paying attention to the information you put in here. So go ahead and use SCORE, make use of it. Follow whatever schools you're interested in, even if you're only a little bit interested in them, that's great. What would not be helpful is if you just ignore this, okay? If you go 2 or 3 months without looking at it, without updating it, then I just don't know what you've been doing, okay? So SCORE is something, if you set up a meeting with me, one of the things I'll automatically do to prepare for that meeting is go and look at your page on SCORE. And if there's no up-to-date information on it, then we're already a step behind before that meeting has started. Again, just you got to know that SCORE is an important part of this process and that it is an open line of communication between us, and our expectation is that you are going to be contributing to it. Now, to avoid confusion, please note that colleges don't have access to SCORE. We assemble documents in SCORE and then send them to colleges. They don't get to see back through that channel. So just because you've entered some information in SCORE, you've entered a test score that maybe you're not planning to actually send out in the fall, it wasn't your best, that's not going to hurt you at any point here. Go ahead and put all that information in so we're on the same page. That stays between you, your parents, and us, okay? Now parents, your page here, if you haven't logged in, is very similar to what you see. There's a college search feature. You'll be able to see your son's list of schools. You'll be able to suggest schools. Only he can move them over into the following tab, and only he can move them over into the applying tab, and I think we all understand why. You can also see your son's profile. This is our example student, where you students can enter in test scores, where you're going to see your updated GPA every semester, and you'll be able to see your assigned counselor and more, okay? So we hope that you'll get familiar with this portal if you haven't practiced with it yet, and we hope that you'll be keeping it up to date as we go through the process. So thank you guys very much. We're going to bring up Ms. Wilk next.
All right. Good evening. Okay, I am going to talk to you, kind of like Ms. Maddox said, a lot about communication and where you all are going to find information and access that information. You are going to receive a monthly email from me, and it is going to be a long email. It is going to have a lot of information in it, but kind of like she said, we need you to read it. We are putting that information out there. Boys, it's for you as much as it is for your parents. Instead of getting dribbled on by me every couple of days with information, that one email is going to have everything you need to know for those next couple of weeks, okay? Parents, you are also going to receive the weekly newsletter from the school. At the bottom of that is the college counseling tab. That is going to have a lot of the same information, but it will also have new information along with it. We would ask you to pay attention to that information and talk to your boys about it. They're not getting that newsletter. They're not getting a weekly reminder. We would like for you to use that and then use that to open up conversation with your boys about, hey, how's this going? Have you done that? You know, where do we stand here, okay? So that their inbox doesn't get filled up with my name in it. That's all I'm going to say about that for right now. Okay, I'm going to go back to SCORE. I know a lot of parents raised their hands. The boys have all registered. Every single junior has registered. We have 136 parents that have not registered for SCORE yet. So boys, you can harass your parents. It's your turn to turn the tables on that. We need one parent from every household to register on SCORE. So tomorrow, I'm going to send out a link that is going to come to you from SCORE if you have not registered yet, and it expires in 48 hours. So I would ask that you activate it in those 48 hours, at least one of you. If that time lapses and you decide you do want to get on, it's not a big deal, just email me and then I will send you a new link, okay? All right, when we look at SCORE, we're going to go on here, and I'm going to show you a couple more things in here. So see Earl E. Action. We actually need you all to check your names, boys, on what is entered there. We ran into some glitches this year where we just had first and last names or a nickname and last name. We need you to go in and hit that edit button right there and make sure that your first, middle, last, and then there's a place to put your nickname is entered correctly. When we electronically go to send your documents in the fall, some of them will not transfer if that information does not match what you fill out for your applications in schools, okay? The other thing we're going to talk about are your youth science information, okay? Everybody I know had a lot of fun filling out the youth science test, and even more fun reading about all the careers that you're now supposed to head off into. If you go into your SCORE account here, you can always click on Youth Science View Full Profile, and that's going to take you right back over to your youth science test and all that information. When you're in there, if you are hitting careers that you like, things that interest you and save them, they populate back over here, and then SCORE will begin to build majors that are suggested that match up with those careers that interest you. So your counselor is going to use that information to then make sure when you're looking at schools that those types of majors are there, or at least if they're not, that you're aware that they're not there, okay? That's sort of how that information is being used. Down here is where you were to have linked 2 documents from your youth science test, right? Most of you have done this. It's the aptitudes test and the resume. both documents, we need you, when you go into the UScience portal here, save them to your computer and load them back into SCORE so that we can see them. Same thing with everything else, only your parent, you, and the College Counseling Office can see this information. No teachers, no colleges. This is just for us to get to know you better, okay? Pat talked about the survey, so we're good there. Okay, I'm now going to jump over to Scholar. Boys and parents, when you log into Scholar, where you were looking at your grades, at the bottom of that, you're going to see a new tab that says College Counseling 2021. And if you click on that, it's going to take you to this bulletin board, okay? And you're going to have announcements, events, news. If we get articles, you know, I'm posting them up there, anything interesting. Your links to SCORE, College Counseling, ACT, etc. Right here is the important one. This is where, just like Coach K told y'all to come and book an appointment with one college counselor, this is how you do it. You click on one of those names and it takes you to their Google Calendar where you can find their open blocks and book that time, okay? If you go back up here, under Topics, this is where lots of information is held, okay? You can click on, I think there's 9 of these. Testing. These have got links to take you to each one of the sites. The handbook here, if you click on the handbook, the first couple of pages in here has got a username and password section. I would suggest printing this handbook, having this in a notebook at home. You're getting ready to have a lot of more usernames and passwords to keep up with. Some are going to require one for the student and one for the parent, and this is a great way to keep track of that. There's also a timeline here. It is going to tell you what's coming up, a little bit more detail than the checklist that was handed out just now. Again, that's where the handbook, testing, all your dates, everything under this topic. If you go over to the applying topic, I want y'all to understand there are 3, and then I'm going to add a 4th, components to your application, okay? The application itself, whether you're doing that through the Common App or whether the school has their own application. The second is what we've been talking to you about with SCORE. And the third, you all are responsible for sending your standardized test scores to colleges. I want to make sure everybody just heard me say that. MBA does not forward any ACT or SAT scores to colleges. You have to log in to those entities and have them sent to the schools you're applying to, okay? We are not allowed to do that, okay? We actually cannot do it, okay? After you apply to a college, they are going to give you information on a portal. You're going to get more usernames and passwords. And at that point, that is how that school is communicating with you. If they're missing a document, they're not calling us, they're not emailing us or emailing you. They are going directly through this portal to let you know that information, okay? So that's kind of that 4th piece that comes later. Looking on through here, the financial aid, this section is going to talk about the FAFSA. If you plan on not only applying for financial aid, but also merit-based aid, oftentimes schools will require you to fill this out. It is a really unpleasant experience to fill out the FAFSA. It just is. It takes a long time and it has a lot of information. This topic here has got lots of good information. I highly suggest reading it before you begin filling out the form. It also at the bottom has a link for a line-by-line video that will help you go through this process because it's tedious. That's just the only way to describe it. General scholarships, school-specific, summer opportunities. These are tabs where we get a lot of emails from people advertising stuff. We cannot forward all that information to you all. We're sticking that information up here. That is on you to be proactive to go and look at that information if there are things that you might possibly be interested in doing. The archive messages right here. This is where you can go and find the video from tonight. If you've got a spouse that couldn't be here tonight, you'll be able to click right here under Class of 21 and watch this evening's program. You can go over here and find the monthly emails if you need, you feel like you remembered hearing something and can't figure out where it is now, okay? This is kind of the area that we've been calling the landing zone. So at any point you're looking for information, log into Scholar. Most likely you're going to be able to find it in this section. I think the last thing I would say is please ask questions. The only reason I'm really here is to help you, and that's really all we want to do. So don't be afraid to ever think your question is silly or that you should already know the answer, because I promise you 3 months ago I did not know the answer. So please ask. Thank you.
Okay. How you guys doing? Awesome. So before we talk about the college visit, we're going to do a little bit of an exercise. Students, raise your hands, students, juniors, boys. All right, you can put your hands down. I want you to turn to your parent or guardian, or if they're not here, just turn to your neighbor and repeat after me. All right? Ready? I will take ownership in this process. Weak is probably the best word to describe that. I want you to say it, repeat after me. If you don't believe it yourself, it's going to be difficult for someone else to believe it, okay? So think about it before you say it, and believe it yourself. With a little bit more enthusiasm this time, okay? I will take ownership in this process. All right, that was much better. That was much better. And one way you can take ownership, students, is by making the most of your college visit. Before your visit, we recommend that you do research on the college. That means knowing more than just where the school is located, knowing more than just that they have a football team. All right? I worked at 2 different Division I schools, and I did have students ask me at Vanderbilt, do you guys have a baseball team? What do you think my expectation level of that student went to after they asked me that question? Pretty low. All right, so we want you guys to research these schools before you go so that you know if they have the majors that you're interested in, and so that when you get to the school for the college visit, you're going to ask thoughtful questions and better questions, and just don't ask the questions that typical every single student is going to ask. Do you have a pre-med program? That's a very common question. And you should already know that before you actually visit the college, okay? Juniors, you have 1 day to visit a college, an approved day, where you can have an absence, and you must fill out the form that you can get from the college counseling office in advance, okay? This is also part of taking ownership in the process, is going to the college counseling office before your visit, getting the form, getting it completed, and then turning it in. Not coming in the Monday after and saying, oh, hey, Mr. Sandifer, I went to Davidson this weekend. Can I get the form? You were supposed to do that before, all right? So make sure you do that before. Students, another part of taking ownership in this process is scheduling your college visits, all right? When I was in admissions as an admissions officer, I got plenty of calls from parents saying, I need to schedule a college visit for my son or daughter. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it looks like I know who's driving this process now. Parents, you do have a part in this process, of course, but it is to support your student. We want them to take ownership in the process and really drive. So guys, schedule the visits for your college visits. Call, most of them are set up online, but make sure you take ownership and do that yourself. When you visit colleges, take the official campus tour. A lot of times when we've met with students, we will ask them, so you're interested in Central Florida. Have you visited campus? Oh yeah, I went to a football game between them and in North Carolina. A football game is not an official campus visit, okay? Most campuses on game day are very, very different than they are on a normal school day. If they are not, you might have a problem. Maybe you shouldn't go to that school, all right? So make sure you do an official campus visit to the schools that you're very interested in. And another thing I want to mention is demonstrated interest. A lot of schools will track demonstrated interest in their process, and one of the first things they look at is, hey, did this student visit the school? They know that they like you as a student, but they want to see how much you like them back as a school. So it's important to do that official campus visit.